So there's a lot to talk about with this movie, but I was reading in the article that you sent that you really don't like to make films that are beholden to the script. So tell us a little bit about developing this story and how you use that to set up a production, but then not necessarily stick to it word for word.
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. What we did was, I've been trained, in the National Film School of India and as well as in UCLA. And we have been taught so much about the rules of filmmaking is that it's essentially because over the years, filmmaking is so expensive that you need a proper blueprint. It's like an architecture. You need a proper blueprint because you can't just keep on improvising a building because it is very expensive and it could be dangerous, But can we apply the same rule to painting or cinema? Well, to painting, no. So that's why a painter keeps on improvising. But why we have lost this ability to improvise in cinema? We have that ability in documentary because we respond to the reality and the truth and the amazing facts that are unfolding in front of our eyes. But that's not possible in fiction feature film. Why? It's because it's very expensive. And nobody would allow you that freedom. So because of that, the whole training in film school is so geared towards making the script bound and final, and then passing it on to the actors. Now what happens is sometimes the actors can bring in so much new energy, which they sometimes, if the script is too bound, they cannot bring in. And then they feel trapped, and then it's very difficult for the director, to work with the actor. Because he wants to do things, but you have locked the script so powerfully and so tightly, and your script, and my scripts have won awards in the past, and your script is so tightly locked that it's very difficult to now, take out a brick, because if you take out this brick, something else will fall apart. If you take out this setup, something else, some other payoff will go apart, So in this film, which was a rare opportunity for me, where I could produce it myself, I was definitely taking a great risk, but I knew, what kind of risks I was taking. So I really started. The first and foremost thing that I did was I wrote a treatment. Then I did the casting. I got the actors, and I found a flat next to my house where I kept the actors for 3 months, and they slowly became part of whole conversation, like daily life conversations. And slowly, through that treatment, with the help of the actors, I found my scenes. Although I knew what was going to be the story, I knew the whole outline, and we were writing, but it was like a very interactive process creatively. Me and my writer were writing the scenes, and every afternoon we used to give it to the actors and we used to say, play it. And then they had many different ideas and interpretations, and we absorbed it, and then we finalized the script. Now, of course, this is not very, very possible when you're working in a big studio setup, because nobody would insure something like this, So yes, what I did was, I feel that when you're working on an indie film, it has to be so much independent in its spirit. So you need to tap into those extremely private. Like any indie film should be a private portrait of those characters, What's the point if these wonderful audiences are coming here and they're not getting an insight into either my life or the life of these actors, And it all feels like very nicely put together. And that is what I wanted to really break. I really wanted to push the whole boundaries of what I could do, of what my actors could do, and as well as what is possible in Indian cinema. Like, for example, something as intimate as this, it's just not possible. And I'm not even talking about the love scenes, I'm just talking about a very simple scene where the boy is talking to that professor in that dark room, in the camera dark room scene, where he says, what could I do for you? Could I make love to you? Because I can't see you anymore so unhappy or, without Vikram. And to even write that scene, or to even perform that one line, it's very tough, because it's very sacrilegious and it's very blasphemous in India. that no, how could he say something like that to him? So anything which has any kind of sexual overtone, whether it is poetic or direct, is largely unacceptable in Indian sort of, audience and cinema experience. So we really wanted to push all of those buttons, all of those places, which were not touched before.
Knowing that that was going to be your process, tell us about how you approached casting, especially since you have a couple of actors that are making their film debuts in this movie.
Yes.
What did you do to understand in advance whether or not they would be capable of the kind of process that you're talking about?
Yeah, that's a very, very important question because yes, I mean, you could write and you could do the whole improvisation and blah blah blah. And what if the actors don't perform? If the actors in this film don't hit those right notes, it's all going to sound really stupid and very very studentish. And that happened actually. The main antagonist, he's very comfortable in Hindi, and I had written all his scenes in English. And until 1 week before the film, I knew it, he is the person, but he would just not get some scenes. And I just couldn't understand what was going on, And I was so frustrated, everything was great, and then finally I was so afraid because if he falls apart, the whole film falls apart, The whole film is held together by the antagonist, It is the antagonist which actually gives birth to the protagonist. So if he is not powerful enough, there is no point in the protagonist rebelling. So to such an extent that I secretly said to my writer that if this guy is not able to get there, I don't know, our production will fall apart and I might have to do the role, and it's because nobody else can do it, And then one day, like 1 week before the shoot, I held him, in the morning. I said, I have to be honest to him. And I sat down with him for a breakfast and I said, what the hell is wrong with you? Why are you not, Because in reality, he's such a sweet person. He's so gentle, Like he would come here and he would just sneak somewhere and he'd just leave. So my casting director was telling him, just fake it. And I heard the word fake and I was like, what are you telling him? Get out, just don't say any such words, Like don't basically screw with his mind. And so I held him and I got him down. I said, what is wrong with you? And you know what? After 3 months, he suddenly held me like this. He held my collar and held me close. And he said, bastard, I'm not so sure and good in English. That's what is wrong with me. And I was like, this is Mayank, this is what I want. This is the madness in your eyes that I want. And I saw it in your original audition. And that's what I want. He said, yeah, but he cursed at me and he said, you son of a whatever, then let me do my scenes in Hindi. And I was like, fine. Why didn't you tell me before? I don't care, It's an indie film. I don't care whether it is in Hindi or English or whatever, It's the spirit of that character that is important. And I was shaking with fear, and I said, okay. And I said, we found it, we found him. So that's how we discovered. But, it was possible for him to put down his guard after, 3 months? So it's very important, I realized on this film, to be very intimate with actors, And I think as film students, traditionally as film students, we were very much taught too much about camera, about sound, about the technology. But we were taught very less to spend time with the actors. We spent so much time scouting location, but we knew so little about the landscape of the mind of those actors that we were working with. And that is what this time I was able to do, So 3 months of intensive preparation helped me to reach this boy who was able to tap into his energy, but in Hindi, and then we found the character,
It almost sounds like there's a parallel with the humiliation scene between the teacher and the student.
Exactly. What a beautiful point you said. That too, you won't believe. He had told me about that scene. It was real from his life. That whole abuse, he actually went through that. He witnessed it in his own life. And once during auditions, he said that thing to me. And I didn't say anything, I just noted it in my mind. then we had written something else for him, as his voiceless moment. We went to shoot, and while shooting, he did it. I was not happy. I just quietly went and just whispered in his ear, would you mind sharing that moment of your life? And he was like, you want that? And he knew it, he was so smart enough. But he did this thing to me, isn't it too high point? Too early in the film? I said, don't worry. I'll figure it out, just, can you? And the cameras were rolling, and thank God, because we have video, you know what I mean, like we are into video world. You can't do that in film, so you can't actually intervene, and give him 5 minutes, to get back into something else. And so the cameras were rolling, and then he started that voiceless moment, which was from his own life. And he cried so much after that scene, and he said, I have never said this thing to anybody, and now I have healed myself with my own father by confessing it, that I truly didn't like it. And then later, he showed this scene to his father, and his father said sorry to him. I was naive and young and violent and wrong, and I'm sorry that, I hurt your mother and I hurt you. And they both bonded after a gap of 15 years. And now his father is living with him in Bombay, He's come from the other town that he used to live. And so it was a very intimate process, this whole film. It was a learning for me and for them, It was like a marriage, between all of us.
A lot of American independent films that rely heavily on improvisation with the actors don't have as beautiful a formal style as this film. And I'm curious if you can talk a bit about your process for generating this, sort of improv and this emotional honesty, while also maintaining a sense of color, composition, camera movement, things like that. Did the formal technique have to service the improvisation, and at what points were you able to just focus on things like cinematography?
Wow. You're really asking beautiful questions, and I'm very glad, I took a long flight to Los Angeles. Again, 15 years of extreme formalistic training combined with extreme suppression on my part as a director, where I always used to feel, no, I want to reach another deeper level of truth, of what I'm seeing. There is still some distance. There is still some screen between me and these actors, There is still something that I'm not able to tap in. And so a combination of this whole thing, I shared all these thoughts with my cinematographer, and he was really, of course, because I was producing myself, I was able to give him so much freedom, but he also used that freedom with great, great equal amount of risk and responsibility. And so, and I must say that I think American cinematographers are one of the best I have worked with. They definitely have just unbelievable preparation. On one hand, I knew exactly how to formally bind this whole together. On the other hand, only the actors were told to improvise within that space. Then, simultaneously, the DOP was told, never, I said my actors will never hit the mark for focus. Is it agreed? And which DP will agree? And he said, yeah, don't worry. I said, at what aperture will you shoot? Because the focus, don't worry, you will get the focus, everything will be fine. And that's how we decided and agreed, And I said, no, my actors, you would never tell them, so even, especially in love scenes, which are very critical, you cannot intervene, and you can't say, wait a minute, can I just light a little bit, can I give a little fill from here? And no. So it was a very beautifully combined process, And of course, years of teaching and learning had taught me the color, the sense of color, And we both together decided, and that whole palette and everything. And he really used the freedom beautifully.
And there's also a lot of expressive editing and things that really shine in terms of formal decisions, separating image and sound, being playful with the chronology within a scene, things that are purely formal in that sense, right? They're not trying to chart a conversation in a linear way. Tell us about some of the discoveries that you made in the editing process. Did you have all of this kind of in mind when you went into the editing room? How much of it was discovered once you had put the story together?
Yeah. Well, the kind of staccato editing this has, it really sort of, challenges the conventional style of editing. And it has a staccato kind of an editing pattern. And that was really decided while I was writing the script, And I think I shot it like that, keeping, somewhere in the mind, Because often, many times, we end up shooting what is on the paper, what is on the page. But while we must learn very deeply to shoot what is in our mind. So I was able to do that, in this film. And yes, it was very much decided in my mind that yes, this is how I'm going to cut it, This is how, in a very staccato fashion, I'm going to edit it. And yet create a certain kind of a formalistic unity within which, there is going to be this whole breakage, of things. And so, also, it was in a way, we were constantly asking ourselves, me and my writer, why should the audience be interested in us? Are we trying to do something new? So on every level, we were trying to do something new. In cinematography, in acting, in the whole narrative arc and the editing as well, So we were deliberately ready to, get into that whole staccato fashion. And we knew that once the audience is comfortable in the first 5 or 10 minutes, they'll be fine with us.
The film explores, maybe indicts a lot of things about the arts, the drive for awards and prestige versus authenticity. It questions the very value or worth of art. Of course, it is in and of itself a work of art. So tell us about, infusing this dialogue into the story, and how much of this you wanted to, remain an open conversation with the audience.
Yeah, I mean, we all know, we all often, throughout the year, we always wonder, that particular film wins an award and something which we have really deeply liked has not won an award, and this has been a perennial discussion in our film circles, for decades. That film was not so great, and I wonder how come it won an award. And that film was all right, but it really surprised me with its award and things like that. So in a way, I think this slight consumeristic concepts, are seeping into the whole sacred field of arts. You can't really say that David, or Michelangelo's work or Rembrandt's work, you can't really say, okay, let's now compete between them. It's somewhere we have to now. Because in India, especially in the last few years, there are so many awards, there are more awards than the amount of films made. It's almost ridiculous, And on the posters, they write like, India is huge, and there are 35 states. Now, if 35 states start their own 35, film festivals, any film will end up winning few, You can't just, you can't create a certain kind of cultural terror out of awards, And that is what is happening in India, right now. And especially when Indian films win some awards abroad, it is actually like a cultural terrorism that we want to import in by saying that, yeah, look, this and this film won award at Cannes, or, this got a nod at Oscars, or this got a nod at Berlin. No, you can't define these films based on awards. There should be more discussion about the content and the subject about it, because India is facing so many issues, on every single plane, and so, in a way, me and my writer wanted to address this whole fascism in arts, because recently some people are really importing this cultural terror in films, that if this is not like people really pitch each other, this film is going to definitely make it to Cannes, you know. You cannot make a film for Cannes. You can't make a film for Oscars. It's ridiculous. You know, you want to make films about things that you really feel passionate, and also you want to make films about people and their pain and their sadness, you know. Those stories need to be told. So it was this inspiration that we had while making this film, you know. Like constantly Mayank is that kind of an antagonist who says award is everything. And obviously, you know, Chetan counters all of that, you know, and towards the end he discovers that there is no infinite and ultimate art, you know. The only best way is that to express my own story, you know. And we don't know the story that he told at the end, whether it is real or not, you know. Because it is up in the air, you know. He may have bluffed, because at the end he says to Persis that I faked the documents, I don't know.
It's interesting, though, that you bring up the international market or the international audiences, because Indian art cinema seems almost, seems like it's more appreciated abroad, at least at the time, and then gets reincorporated as a sort of national cinema. And this film, too, I think you've got things that the government will not approve, and you know that. So tell us a little bit about deciding to break with, intentionally create a film that is going to have a complicated life with Indian audiences.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Like, first of all, CRD is not really made in an American or a Hollywood dramatic analytical fashion, you know. It's also not made in a European single emotion art house way, you know. So it's tough in both ways, you know. And so it's really trying to find its own voice. It's really trying to, find a very Indian but unique voice, you know. I wouldn't say just an Indian, but whatever, global unique voice. But yes, while we were working on this script, we were trying to make every scene a kind of, it was like a rebel. It was like a rebellion on our part while making this film, you know, because we are faced with censors for years and decades, and it is very ridiculous because films is actually something, a voluntary act, you know. You have all, for example, you would all go and buy a ticket to see a film, which is censored, but Facebook and everything else is free, you know, and it is not censored. So it's very strange, and so we really can't live anymore in this kind of an oppressive regime of where films are suppressed and the voices are suppressed, you know. And so there came a point while making this film, or deciding to make this film, is that I said, come what may, you know, if I don't find my voice in this film, I may not find it ever, because I will keep on postponing, and the fear will keep on building inside me that no, let's not do this, you know, because the censor will never clear it, you know. The censor board will just throw it away. No, let's not do it because the Indian audience is really going to feel offended. No, let's not do it because Europeans will find it strange. Oh, let's not do it because Americans will think this is stupid. So we constantly, for decades, you know, we have made films for others. While very interestingly, the audience enters the theater. This is the only thing in the world, you know, which we buy without actually seeing. Yeah, even this little thing, we first see it and then pay. So actually audience is not only forgiving, but it's very loving, you know. It's ready to give whatever you want to give it. But for some reason we say, no, the audience only likes this, and then we pre-decide and give them, you know, things. And then the genres are born, you know, and we follow the genres and we celebrate them and stuff like that. I wanted to unlearn all of this. And I wanted to totally start from complete scratch. So interestingly, I have made many films before this, but many people think that this is my first film, and they say, oh, nice, you know, nice young film. So first film, yeah, very nice, a lot of good energy, you know, a lot of things you have put in there. So,
well, let's talk about, I guess, not following a genre, trying to deconstruct structure. How much of that evolved out of the process with your actors because I'm sure that there were variations on any particular scene that you, when you workshopped it, sort of found its own tone or voice after you spent this time with the actors.
Yeah, most importantly, two most important scenes which I think were born out of this whole interaction and improvisation first was the basketball scene, which was very intense. We never thought that, Mayank would, pierce him so intensely, and he really doesn't do much, he does, but the way he starts insulting him, in little ways, we had never thought it would be so like that, it was very disturbing for us at that time. So that was born out of improvisation. And the second was the dance sequence at the end. So that actor actually had studied dance for a year. And I got to know that information during the audition. And I asked him then just do the dance, because that seems like your great talent. So these two were definitely born straight. They were never written by us. We literally saw them in audition tapes. And we said, hell what, just type this, Just get it in, just type this as it is in the script. It's working. But you know what? It didn't work at that time. We were very afraid, especially the basketball scene, because it was hitting such a high note. I said, how do we now pick up the film after this? So during editing, again, we sort of, toned it down. So it was a very, organic process. And the dance just worked fine, So yeah, we kept it.
There's also a lot of music in the film, and I'm curious, because music often conditions an emotional response from the audience, but you're kind of leading us on a journey that really doesn't follow a path that we know in advance. Yeah. What was your approach to how you would score it?
Yeah, so this film doesn't have a traditional score as such, And so when we approached the music composer, the music composer, he was very, very skeptical, He was very honest. In a way, he said that, I think you just need to source different kinds of music from, and maybe you need a music supervisor. And, because I don't know how to compose for this, Because it just keeps on changing, It's completely random in a way, And I convinced him, I said, no, don't worry, just do it. Just do it, don't worry. It'll all come together. And then he had that faith. And then slowly, it started coming together. And even for us in the beginning, it was very random. Like very, very non-linear, It would change so rapidly. And then, but by the end of it, we really had to take that risk. And we hoped that when the audience walks in, it is sort of, it has given us 2 hours of their life. And in totality, they will see it, They won't say that, from first 10 minutes to 15 minutes, that jerk, yeah, I still remember that jerk. It was quite of a jerk, wasn't it? We thought that, okay, there's full 2 hours they're going to give us. And in that, at the end of it, we hope that they will understand what we were trying to do.
Let's take some questions from out here. Yes.
I enjoyed the film very much. Can you talk about the challenging of the editing? You have some, because of the story and the way it was unfold, it seems like were challenging in order to make it balance or make it sense with the flashbacks and then with the ideas and the emotions of the characters to keep the story flow.
Yeah, totally important and fantastic question. The editing went on for 1 year. The editing went on for 1 full year, which is too much, Which is just too much. Like, nobody can afford it, But it was from 8 to 12 months that the editing was going on. And the editor is my very dear friend, and we did our first feature together. So we know each other since more than 10 years, And she really trusts me, So just a small aside, in between I must share. To everyone I took this script to, people who did not know me, did not trust. Like one music director was actually a good friend but did not know my cinema. He rejected the film saying that I don't know whether this film is moral or immoral. And I'm like, it is moral, of course. Can't you see it is so moral in a way, that it is being so truthful. And he says, no, I don't know. I can't relate to the main actor. He's so unpredictable. Okay, cut to another actress, nice, young, pretty. And she says, I like this film, I like this role, I like my character, but I hate the boy. I said, why do you hate him? Because he's so nuts. I said, don't worry, just. So it was tough, to convince people to work on this project. And then this editor really trusted me. And she really, kept on going. And she said, okay, I said, we have to find our voice at each stage. While preparing, while the preparation with actors, while shooting, and while editing, Because it is not a one single genre picture. So during editing, every 2 months, we took a break. And we showed the film to people, some of our friends. And we kept on taking their feedback, So there were many scenes which we had to take out because they were hitting such intense notes, especially the basketball scene, The original sequence was about 11 minutes, And it was like totally, Lars von Trier, multiple Lars von Triers, and it was like so disturbing and so debilitating and so energy draining that we had to pull it down to, I think, 3.5 minutes. Otherwise, after that, the film wouldn't have survived, You would have felt so tired and so alienated. So we had to really then, bring it from maybe 11 minutes to 3.5, And then, so many such scenes, were sort of, pulled back. There was one amazing, bikini scene, where Chetan is in a library and he imagines Persis in a bikini walking towards him, as his muse. And the actress really, worked for 3 months, she worked, poor actress, on her zero figure, Like in India, we call it zero figure, And and that got cut, And she's so mad at me. She's like, wow, how could you do that? I said, I'm a filmmaker and I'm a very ruthless editor. I said I'm a very kind director, but I'm a very ruthless editor. So we had to really sacrifice some very beautiful scenes, And so it was an organic process, But that was possible because I was producing the film. Nobody else could give me that freedom, Nobody.
You should use that scene for the trailer. All right, I'll walk around the room with the mic if anyone wants to jump in.
What was the inspiration for the film for you? Are you an actor yourself? Had you gone to acting school? And also, what does the name mean?
Yeah, the name CRD obviously means it's the abbreviation of the main character, Chetan Ranjit Deshmukh. That is his name. But this is exactly what we wanted to create, a mystery, Films today are too much explicit. They are trying to really please the audience too much, They're trying to sort of, be very neat and nice and in a wrapper, and everything is clear. What you saw in the trailer, you'll see it here. What you saw here is what you get, happy, nice, goodbye, We really wanted to break every single element, Okay, CRD, nobody gets it, fine, Some people will get it, fine. Some people while going out will discuss. Some people will ask me the question. Some people will Facebook me saying, what was CRD, by the way, dude? And so we would answer that, So let it be an interactive process, So that was one thing. And to answer the first question, the inspiration was definitely, the first scene of the film was what happened with me. When I was 16, I went to this great college, Ferguson College, where I wanted to write this play because this competition in our city is as great as Oscars, is as important because if you win this competition, you really would be like the most famous person in that college, and at 16, that's what you want. You want everybody to know, you want everyone to know you, and so, but they said to me that you can't write an award-winning script. So what's the point, So just calm down, and be part of the go around and give tea and coffee, be a runner. And at that point I said, no, I will not be a runner. So that was the inspiration, and that remained as a voiceless moment for me. And after 15 years, I was workshopping once, about 3 years back, about voiceless moments, because they are the best, they are the greatest moments of our life. Because that one voiceless moment can give birth to an entire film on which we can hinge for 3 years. Because it matters to me, It's not just a product for me. It's not a consumeristic product which I'm making on the, on the money which nobody knows, how it's flowing, and so yeah, let's do it. So it was like that. It was extremely important and personal for me to tell this story, because we must fight these very tiny spots of fascism and unethicalness everywhere, because that is where the ultimate atom bombs and the hydrogen bombs are born, The biggest wars are between two people, between husband and wife, between brother and sister, between two brothers, in one single house. That one tiny moment of violence and that one tiny moment of unfairness towards others, many times, shape us. I wanted to be in theatre, but when they didn't allow me on that day to write, I straight away went to National Film Archives and I became a filmmaker, And I'm telling you, it's very tough to be a filmmaker. It's too tough to raise finance and, and all of that.
So, what message would you like to give to, like upcoming filmmakers or young people who want to go out there and make films just for their own passion, not like, to make money out of it, but just for the passion? Yeah,
it's only today, in a way, cinema started with passion, Lumiere brothers did not, never thought that it would become a commercial art, Lumiere brothers literally invented camera as a leisure activity. And they just went and shot a train walking into the station, a child and workers coming out of factory, So if you really think that cinema was truly born out of personal expression, it was not an industrial revolution. It is later that it has become a huge industry. And now I think after 120 years, we again have that scope, what Lumiere's had, of making an entire feature film with, like 5D, which will have equally good quality as this, And you can tell the most personal stories that you want. So I think the time has come for us, to also tell the deepest of the personal stories, because they will ultimately heal us, When I see, product films, which I call them product films, they're like products, product 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have nothing to heal in it, But when I see these films, not because I have made it, but when I see a film like a great Indian film like Court, I feel a little bit healed, that somebody is bothered, somebody is worried, somebody is angry, somebody is tired, somebody is desperate, somebody is frustrated at the Indian legal system, which is so lethargic. So the same thing I applied, in this film, that I wanted to tell that story, because at that time and even till today, great little young minds are born there and they're suppressed. And it's the same model that is happening all over the world, But to specifically answer your question, yes, of course, it's very small and short life we have, If we have to tell our stories in the best way possible. And practically speaking, I think the most amount of time a director should spend is with actors, Like really, you need to know your actors like you know your brother or father or a wife or daughter, If you know that, you will really know how to press which button at which point. And that's exactly what I did with Mayank, when he tells his own voiceless moment about his father abusing his mother, because I knew about it. And he trusted me with that information. So actually while shooting, I pressed that button and he was glad that he was able to relieve himself of that memory. Did I answer your question? Yeah.
Yeah, with this art film, you may be called the Fellini of India, because it had those moments. My question is, how many days did you actually shoot? How many hours a day, and what camera did you use?
Yeah. Yeah. Every question here is fantastic. I'm really, really glad that I took a 17-hour flight, because every question is inspiring to me. Because all of you are so film literate. And you really care. All of you really care for cinema. And every director, puts 3 years of his life exactly for these moments. That where, in a way, he wants to marry. He can't marry so many people at once. But he only through films, you can marry so many people. So yeah, we shot normally in American indie film. We shot over 22 days, is what I've heard. In India, yes, we also shoot Indian indie films 22 days. But this film, it took us 63 days to shoot. Yes, that is true. But if you see, you can see the quality. The quality that we wanted to achieve was impossible in 22 days. It is literally impossible to get the whole tonal quality and the whole magic of the shots and blah blah blah.
The camera? What kind of camera?
Yes, we used red, I think red Epic with lenses which were like about 45 years old. So we had to find those lenses down south in India because we wanted the film look. And the funny thing is, when it was shown at one festival, a couple of people came to me and said, they were young film students, I think, and they said, we like everything, but why did you keep the whole film slightly out of focus? I said, no, it's not out of focus. It took me 62 days to make this film. It's not out of focus. He said, no, but it's not sharp. No, but what has happened is, over the last 4 years, now we are so used to the digital sharpness that this is a cinematic look, Now the young people are not used to it. So they are like, yeah, the cinematography slightly sucked, but everything else was great, Oh my God. And the older people whom I meet, they all give, the first compliment is cinematography was really good. It looks very cinema, It doesn't look video. So it's very interesting that we are in a cusp, now which way to go,
I have two questions. How do you balance, because films are so expensive, how do you, if you don't care about whether people are going to like it or whether it will make money at the box office, so how do you go into thinking of how you may recoup, especially since you finance it yourself?
Yes.
Like, how are you thinking about that? Then the other quick question is, if you're making films specifically for an Indian audience and not worry about whether a foreign audience will understand the intricacies of some of the details.
Yeah. Again, great question. A film like this can only be made once in a decade, in your life. Whether you have money or no. Because if you have a lot of money, you may not have this inspiration to tap into these extreme, different narrative structure. And so this was just once in a lifetime opportunity for me. I can't afford again. I'm exhausted with money. But thankfully, Netflix is very deeply interested, and we've got distribution in India. Hopefully in December we will have it released. And for Indian audiences, it's actually very, in a good sense, I'm saying this, it's very commercial for them. It's not an art house film. It's not going to be boring for them. Because that is what is their biggest concern. Yeah, it's a great film, but it's so boring. We got the point in 20 minutes. Why did it keep on going on for 120 minutes? So it really, we considered that, and therefore we have kept it one step ahead of the audience, especially the young audience, which actually find it exhausting, It's like 2 or 2.5 films in one, So it's constantly going ahead with unabated speed for us while making, this is what we thought. So I think young Indians will really like it, It also has that tremendous revolting feeling inside, which their mind will probably like, I think. But no, I cannot make a film like this ever again because it takes a lot of money, efforts, and it aged me. It actually aged me by 3 to 4 years because it's very exhausting process, because you are really trying to search truth in everything. And especially in a country like India, women are so scared, of being ridiculed at if you show them either semi-nude, nude, or in that kind of a style. It's a very regressive culture, and they're always afraid. So their first question is always with fear. Are you going to show my butt? Well, let it be clear to me. Is my butt going to be shown on screen? So it's too much about that because they're afraid, that they'll be ridiculed at. So how do you convince the actress to go to that point where you say that you will look so ravishingly beautiful that your grandchildren will say that, wow, cool, huh? That was really cool. So, yeah, so those love scenes while shooting that, I was shivering, because what if she's not able to reach the truth?
The love scene was gorgeous, and
Yeah.
she looked stunning and very tasteful. For what you see on cable TV, you see a lot more than that.
Yeah.
But it was beautiful, and you can see the care. Just so many. I have a question actually. Since a lot of the script initially was improv, but you took a lot of time shooting it, so did they stick to script when you were? Did you do a lot of takes? Like there was that one scene where they were having a conversation, and they were in a restaurant, and there were the jewels hanging, and just the cutting in and out of the jewels. And when the professor was doing the reveal scene, it was almost like he was, just the way you lit it, it was almost like there was a veil over him.
Yes.
Just amazing visuals. So did you have to do a lot of takes, like of the two at the restaurant, to get, so you could see her between the beaded curtain and all that?
No, that's really, again, a beautiful question. I'm sorry for repetition. But that's all thanks to the cinematographer, Your cinematographer has to have very clear idea, as to what is this source going to be. And he should just stick to that main source, He should not have double ideas. So we followed one shot, one idea. And that really freed us in many ways. So the restaurant scene, we only took 4 to 5 takes. But you won't believe, what I said to my actors. Before that shooting, the cinematographer was lighting it up for 5 hours. I said, because there was this whole half a day. We couldn't do anything else, I said, yeah, take. And I sat down with the actors before the shoot, before that scene, and I started telling them how their childhood stories from my point of view. Like how on the first day I saw them, and I started thinking about them to cast in the film. And they were like, they were so like, they melted into that whole space. So it was a very emotionally secure space that I created for them and me. And then we went to shoot it. So there was a very amazing kind of simplicity and innocence in that whole scene. There was no smart-assness, I didn't want that, And once that scene was done, it was such a simple scene, but it had all the elements of a drama, beginning, middle, end, and a twist at the end, because they're actually doing an exercise. And I said to them that, what, I've been working as a filmmaker for 15 years, and now I understand the meaning of what it means to shoot a scene. It's not about big cranes, about, big things, and thousands of people. It's about finding this little moment between two people, It could be as simple as a tabletop shot between two people, and yet I was able to find that scene. And that day I was so happy. I called my professor, and he's retired now, and I'm like, sir, I just want to tell you that I am a director. He said, what? I said, yes, nothing, I'll talk to you later, And I felt so empowered, Like, because I've shot such huge scenes in my life, with Harvey Keitel, in this film, and blah, 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 and this and that. But if I ever have to apply to USC with one scene, it will be that scene. That's it. Because the amount of simplicity and truth that I was able to reach with both of them was unbelievable. This is a very personal thing that I'm sharing with you. But what was your other question? The love scenes, yeah. See, yeah, it's also because often, I don't know, I might be wrong, but often women are portrayed through a very non-feminine manner, I think every woman, and I often say this thing to my better half, every woman that I see, I find her, every woman I find beautiful. If you have that mentality or mind, then obviously you will look at her in such a gorgeous way that you will end up liking her that way. And so I really thought that this girl was so gorgeous, you know. I used to always like, you know, on the set I used to look at her like this and she used to say, is the take okay? I used to say, yeah, it's okay. You have to, you know, genuinely fall in love with them, you know.
I think in the opening scene where you closed up on the faces, you could see you were in love with each one of them.
Yeah, totally.
That was stunning.
Yes. And you're so right, you know. I'm so glad that you said that, you know. I was. And we all had such unbelievable withdrawal symptoms, you know, after the film was over. You won't believe. I had started breathing like my DP, like my cinematographer, you know. The way he used to breathe faster than me. So I was like, why am I breathing like this? And I had started doing my frown like the actress for 3-4 months, you know. Well, so my body habits had changed. So that much you have to imbibe, that much you have to respond, and that much you have to love them. So I think all the women that came in my life, I have loved them so much that all I have is just beautiful memories, you know, of them. And so I always used to tell her, you know, you're a sum total of all the beautiful women that I loved, that I wish I had loved, you know, that I would wish I would love, you know. So she used, like every day, she used to come on set and she used to be like she used to bloom, you know. And she used to say, you're so biased, you know. I said, no, look at you, you're so pretty. So it's a very intimate process that you follow, and then when you start shooting them, it's like they bloom, you know. And in normal circumstances, they may not cast the boy as the leading boy in Bombay, you know, because they want these tall Greek-looking men, you know, with great abs and great body. And I told him, what are you saying? Like, look at Dustin Hoffman, you know, he completely rocked the daylights out of America, you know. You are the Dustin Hoffman of India. So, yeah.
It's funny you said that because I think Shah Rukh Khan's son goes to USC now.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing this film with us.